Hi, I want to talk about robotics and also kind of like about deflation and how to reinvent work because it's going, we're gonna lose a lot of jobs to automation and there is a lot of reaction in society against this because many people lose their jobs. But uh, I want to bring some example of how humans really aren't that good at doing many jobs, and once the robots or automation takes over, uh, many things that are very much accident prone, like many jobs that a lot of things go wrong. One of them is driving. Well, I drove taxi for a very long time, and I had a very low number of tickets. Uh, this is because I spend every day like about 10-15 minutes after I have finished working to review all the events that happened while I was driving. Um, like if I made a mistake, I turned too quickly. If the car fell on uneven surface, anything, missed a near miss accident, we kind of review it and kind of look back and see what I could have done separately because that was kind of my livelihood, and getting these licenses for taxi and even driver's license is something you don't want to lose. You don't want your insurance to go up, you know. So all this stuff was important to me. But as time went on, I was kind of studying these things. I came to the conclusion that even the best of drivers, even me, uh, we are not very good. We are not good at this task of driving. And in fact, if machines and software took over this part, it could do a much better job of what I was doing. Well, I learned this especially after, well, yeah, many people they don't remember this, but before like 20 years ago, 15, 20 years ago, there was no GPS. You just if you were a cab driver, you had to rely on your own smarts to find places. And back then we used to just go on landmarks. Like if I didn't know an address, I would ask a friend. They would say, hey, it's by the Santa Ana train station, or it's that other street, that famous other street, and then this is another cross street right around there. So when you got to the right cross street, then you start to look some more, and I would make a lot of mistakes, and I think other drivers they did too. And I sometimes had to call the customer, and the customer would come out. Sometimes when we were late, the customer would come in, even stand in the street, so I could just pick her up. But after the GPS came out and I started using Garmin, that was one of the best ones that came out early. Then it was amazing how fast things turned out. I just listened to this little device, and she would take me from turn to turn to turn. I was just, it was, to me that was like, oh my God, it was the oh my God moment. And I would say that Garmin by itself saved as much as 30% of the time, and gasoline, maybe more on some runs. Also, another thing that happened is that because there was GPS, we could do many small runs, like because you could easily find the place and pick up the customer, drop them off, because you could also find the destination easily. So there was not all of this work that you had to do. You didn't have to be completely familiar with the area. So if you went from here, for example, if I went from Orange County to Santa Monica, well, I had the GPS for Santa Monica. I could pick up customers there, go places over there. You know, I didn't have to come all the way back to Orange County, and then because I was familiar with this place, I run things here. So that was a really eye opener. I noticed that hey, the machines they can really save a lot of money, a lot of time, and maybe even accidents. Then things got more automated. The GPS now is in my cell phone, and I use it all the time. But I don't grieve, or I don't think that, oh my God, I missed out on something if I don't use it. And this is the natural evolution of humanity and machines too. Well, I could have another example like this. I went to college in the 80s. I graduated in 83. Well, back then, there was a time when we didn't have electronic calculators, or they had them, and they were very simple. They were like they could just add and subtract. And in the engineering classes, we had something that's called slide rules, which is just it looks has two arms and a third arm or something, depending on what kind you bought. I could do more sophisticated calculations, but you had to be very familiar with it, how to read it and how to enter the data. It was all mechanical, and oh boy, when things changed and they came out with the electronic calculators, the scientific calculators, it was like it was a similar event. It was a real eye opener, and I could do very fast calculations. I also was able to take very hard courses, graduate courses, even stuff that only engineers that had been in the field for many years could do. So I kind of saw these progressions, and what happens also when electronics or machinery comes in and can do the things that a human can do, but only much better and faster with less mistakes, then the humans they kind of dumb down, which I did certainly with the Garmin and with the electronic scientific calculators. By the way, sometimes I go to these dollar stores. I think the one in 99 cent only store had scientific calculators for $1 because they're very cheap now and they could sell them that price. But when I go and look at this, I'm just you see me standing in front of the rack and just looking at that thing because when it came out first back in the 80s, they were not cheap. They were like 30, $40 for back then. So when they have become so cheap and all the stuff they can do, it's like, to me, it's mind-boggling. It's like that guy who got stranded in the island for many months, and then when he came back to his hotel, when they rescued him, and he was spent all night, turning his flashers, those things, what do you call it, make a little fire. So funny, but it happens to people who are like, like me. They grow up and had to see, or were using the older equipment. You know, they spend all night just making fire. Because in the island it was very hard to make fire. You really needed to work on it. But hey, things change, and the humans, namely me or other people, they kind of dumb down because the machine is doing all the work. This happened uh, with the uh, with the GPS, and I know there are cars that they're partly self-driving. Well, even older models, you could set the car at a certain speed, program it, and then the car would take over. I never was comfortable with that because the car is, I wanted to be in control. But even with those elementary systems, if you intervene and you get control of the car, then you can direct it. But who's to say that a machine, a computer couldn't drive a car better than human? A machine could have 20 sensors around the car. I could be hooked to a central server or a server for a major 5G and see exactly every single car or humans that are all around. And I know in advance, certainly more than reaction time, where the car would go. So the reactions that's in society is against robots is very overblown. And many people they weren't used to seeing these things, or they were used to the real thing, real elementary machines, and see the kind of improvements and economy. Well, these days, I'm buying one of these Sexbots. They're not the advanced ones. They're just like sex dolls, really, from eBay. But the price has dropped. The price has dropped to I don't know, 500 or 1,000. But I'm gonna go on an analogy with some other elementary system. This is the one that you really gonna appreciate the difference. Well, when you buy these things, you really have a choice. You can really get. Well, I would go and get a really nice blonde, kind of tall. Even the short ones would be good, and she probably would be perfect. But if I wanted to get even a date with such a blonde, I probably have to straighten out my passport and take a trip to Russia or maybe even Finland. And when I got there, I would have a choice of paying like I don't know anywhere from $300-400 or euros for a kinky date or even more with one that even remotely resembled this thing that I bought from eBay. So the real thing, the real women, they 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 really make very poor companion. Many women that are like their sexual partners, they also have a real drug problem. They usually are on heroin. Almost every woman that we were mutually attracted to, like a nice blonde, almost all the time they're on heroin, or they have been on heroin, and then when they have gotten off, they're complete wreck. Well, I had a really nice college sweetheart, and I know she really liked me too. And we were going back and forth with her. She was so pretty, and she was from a small state. She wasn't like a city slickum girl, and she would be the kind of woman I would wanna. But again, the same kind of analogy follows with anything, with sex or marriage. Many humans they have many problems. We are very dysfunctional. Back then, there was a lot of hostility in the air. She was very influenced by the people around her. And then later on, I found out that she had gotten in trouble, same problems, uh, but she had gotten over it, and I kind of lost track of her. But what for what I want, if I wanted just sex, then the $6 or sex bot it would be sufficient. It would be even better because then I have a choice. I don't have to just go around dating until I'm blue in the face to find someone, some thing that's a nice compliment. But this way, uh, it's a choice. It's my choice. But then who says that the later models that are really like sex dolls and sex bots and then really machine that does everything for you, there would be any less than a real woman. Well, I've had real women. I could tell you about my ex, Marlene. Uh, she she did a lot of damage, and I'm paying for it now and later. She always wants to come back, and I know better. Uh, well, also my ex Marlene, she looks a lot better. She's been taking care of herself. I guess when we separated, she had to work on her image. I wonder why she didn't do that when she was with me. The same with the sex bots or robots. You could ask that they look very nicely, and that's important. Physical attraction is very important. So I mean, things are not getting worse. Things are getting better, and these ideas they can be extended into many fields. I know that there are expert systems that you give your information or case information. Say you went and got busted for DUI. You tell this software or intelligent or AI lawyer, and the system will come up with a decision tree that outlines the steps you need to take through the courts, or it can even file some of the paperwork for you to um, kind of mitigate or resolve the problem, or pay the least amount of fines. But the thing about the robots and AI is that their level of intelligence, there is no limit. For example, with the example I told you with the calculators, I was using slide rules, and then there were elementary calculators, then there were scientific calculators, and then there were HP. HP can do a little programming too. It can solve most of the problem, or at least you can check the problem and see if you made mistakes, which is the more likely scenario. and then they even progress to Matlab. And there are other packages like Matlab that you can solve very difficult problems. You can solve sets and sets of partial differential equations or matrices. Uh, you know, it can go on. Yeah, it probably has gone on. I know there are packages in Matlab that are specifically catered to banking or stress analysis. Or, you could get a package, and the package, almost everything for a particular set of problem have been totally worked out. You just drop in a few numbers. Who says that this is bad if it extended with this with this thing with the self-driving cars and robotic women? How good can they get? And just because I'm telling you these things, that doesn't mean that I'm a failure with women, which it might be or might not be. That, but in either case, it's none of your business. I do pretty good with women. I can date women, attract women, or we be attracted to each other. Pretty, but it gets more difficult as the relationship goes on. But who says you can't have a relationship with an android? Well, I'm watching this sci-fi movie. It's called Dust, and anyhow, this is it all revolves around this team interaction between humans and androids. But then you can also go on kind of parallel to this, but it's kind of very strange parallel. Uh, After the religion of Islam started and Prophet Muhammad came in and there were the Quran, and he passed away, many Arabs were wondering, because things changed so drastically in the society and in their culture. They was wondering, where did all this come from? Where did all this spirituality, all these laws that facilitate everything, where did all this come? How did this guy? But then the parallel would be that humans, we have a soul, and in our soul is embedded the moral code, and it's connected to the universe, and it's kind of like a parallel between a human and an android, but between the earthly part of yourself and the divine self, and the divine self can come in and intervene and fix things or have miracles. This is a topic that many people, they're not very interested in anymore, because they have totally lost their focus dealing with machines. Machines tend to increase production and do things better. So people have kind of lost connection that, hey, I have a part of me that is really smart too. And this happens because of the dumbing down. But I don't think jobs or work will ever go away, because we have creativity, we have consciousness, and we can we need that with other people. We always need other humans. There is the need is mother of invention, and the new kinds of work will spring up. I think the kind of work I want to see happen is that never mind. Have you seen these sci-fi movies where the kind of work that has sprung up and everybody's doing it is like these guys that become like for hire husbands, like women hire him for a little while, and it's similar to me going and buying an Android Sexbot, and she's a companion, but then women would be left that they need real, or even men, they need real humans, that there are needs, emotional and otherwise, that only a human can fulfill those needs. So this is a pretty interesting foray. Uh, I don't think jobs will go away, they will just transform. I was watching Kaiser Report, and they were saying that, oh, maybe deflation might be good. Maybe, when we can produce all these things and get them for very cheap, then that resolves a lot of hang-ups. Uh, I don't think many people have lived in the 70s or 80s when everything was much more mechanical. You really had to do everything. Kids aren't used to that. They rebel against that. It was a lot worse in the earlier periods, like for my father and before him. Um, have we lost out? I don't think so. I think we have gained a lot. I think we are entering an age of technological singularity that's combined with a kind of zero marginal cost society, which means many products are produced at almost zero price, and then I think this will give rise to socialism. The reason many Americans are hostile to these ideas is because their kinds of work and their status as some kind of overlord is constantly being demolished. So, but do I care? No. Uh, Thank you very much for being in my YouTube channel, and please subscribe and leave your comments.